So let's talk about gear enhancement. I'm going to go through a pretty big in-depth guide on progression and gear. So if you watched my beginner's video, I went over a little bit of things, but I'll go through it again here. There's green, blue, purple, yellow, orange, and red gear currently. Ooh, there's a helmet on for what? 29,000 silver. So obviously someone was trading that to another account. That was a funny thing to catch in a video. So yeah, there's opportunities to buy reds for 29,000 silver from time to time. I don't know what that was. So as a new player, you're probably starting out. You're going to be getting greens and blues and purples, and I do suggest leveling them to 20. So if you can go to plus 20 with them with your black stones, it's worth it. I just leveled a bunch of my alt stuff, so I don't have too many resources in here for black stones, but you'll probably be getting these greens. I have, 73,000. I just went down from, I don't know, I think about 480,000 or more of these. But you'll probably get these, and realistically, to get to 20, all you need are these green ones at about a capacity of 3,000 at most. If you have some blue ones, you can utilize them as well to get to 20. And basically, the tier would go plus 20. So here I have yellows in here that are 20. So the tier would go to plus 20 first with those first stones. Then with the blue stones, you would try and get to 28 to 32. So normally I would not start using the purple and the yellow stones until after 32. And even then, the yellow stones I'd probably not use until after 36. So that's kind of like gear progression. And like I said in my previous video, you want to level everything collectively together. You want all 6 of these to be leveling at the same time, to the same number, because of your gear enhancement or your resonance. So as you can see, I'm at TET right now. I have 1 pen. I probably will never get to HEP. I don't know, unless they make it a lot easier. But you can see it starts at plus 15, 18, and then 20. So 20 gives you 14 more CP. You can go to 23 to 25. 25 is really good too. 30 is really good. And then once you get past 30, it's almost every 2 levels. And then 38, 39, 40, and then try, TET, etc., etc. So I would only worry about getting to 20 if you're a new player, and do it on your blue gear or your yellow gear. And then you can transfer it over to your orange gear as you go. So the best gear for you to get when you first start the game, sorry if there's some veteran players here that are listening to this, is yellow and Grinnell, because it's a 2 slot, so you can actually put in 2 crystals. And as I said in the previous videos, don't worry about extracting any crystals unless they are orange or above or yellow or above. You will get an abundant amount of crystals once you start doing world bosses and once you pass 60, so don't pull them from here. Just replace them and delete them. It's not worth the black pearls. So once you get past that, the way orange gear works is you can get single slot and 2 slots sometimes from drops, or you can get them from Shack. But the best way to get your next, which is Ultimate Grinnell Orange, your next set of tiered gear, which I would suggest in enhancing, and this will be after 60, is by crafting. So the way crafting works is you have 1 slots that craft into a 2 slot. It takes 3 of them to craft into a 2 slot. Then 3 of those 2 slots to craft into an Ultimate Grinnell, I don't know, armor. And then it takes 3 Ultimate Grinnell to get to a Djinn Grinnell. So it's a long process. So the more drops you get, the better. The more Shack drops you get for oranges, the better. And I'll do an in-depth guide on how to do Shack coins and all those things, but you can come in here and get oranges as well. So it is a long process. And this is why I usually tell people when they're starting out in the game to just first get to Ultimate Grinnell and keep crafting. Or, if you want to just farm AFK silver, you can do that and buy Djinn in the market instead of going through this process. But while you're farming, you're also going to get orange drops. You're also going to get, gold and Shack coins and stuff like that. So it's a much more economical way, because I have a huge spreadsheet about how much it costs to get to Djinn Grinnell, to go through the crafting outlet and the crafting way. So I usually say get to Ultimate Grinnell armor. Don't awaken it yet. Once you have an Ultimate Grinnell, get it to 40. you know, or focus on getting it to 40 while you're getting your Jin. And unlike enhancement, with armor upgrades to Jin, you want to just focus on one piece at a time. You don't want to keep progressing every piece to 2 oranges or whatever. You want to get one good piece to Jin, because once you get to Jin, then it's safe to start spending resources on things like crystals and putting in crystals, because there's 3 slot crystals, so you can put in some really good crystals in there. Spending resources on enchantments, you know, until you get your red, because enchantments are pretty expensive and they take essence. So when you enchant your gear, you know, it's worth it to spend it on a Jin Grinnell than it is on an ultimate Grinnell, because you lose your enchantments. You lose all of these once you craft up or enhance up, or, you know, send it to a red. You will lose those enchantments. So awakening gear I would do after you have Grinnell. So it's gear awakening in your blacksmith, and it costs about 60 to 70 million. You can do that on accessories and your armor and weapons. So I wouldn't do that until you're at least, you know, over 30 in level and at Jin Grinnell with 3 slots for these to awaken. Same with your accessories, OJs. Wait till you have all your OJs or 1 OJ. Like, you can awaken 1 OJ or orange or whatever once you get it, and you can wear it. But wait until you get the oranges to upgrade. So that's kind of like how gear progression works in those terms to get to plus 40. Then once you're at plus 40, you do what's called an awakened enhancement. Now, you'll probably collect a lot of these stones if you're new. These things here, like refined black crystals and black crystals, that are absolutely useless. Like, do not use these for anything, any leveling or enhancement until you get up to 40. Because what these are essentially are used for is in your black, in your refinery, and you're crafting black crystals, the best way to craft these crystals are with those crystals, these ones here. So the big ones you want to utilize to craft these, which are your pristine black crystal armors and the pristine weapon crystal armors. And then that's how you take your gear to the next level in enhancements. So you do your awakened enhancement. So once you have your gear at Jin, Grinnell, or Red, or whatever, and you have it awakened, you can come in here and go past plus 40 with these certificates and these enhancement materials. So these are Volks, 10% and 50%. So it gives you an additional success rate at 10% and 50%. There's a huge guide on what this actually means, but realistically, the way to do it is don't use any of these if you're going to 1. So if you're going from plus 40 to 1, don't use any and just use a crystal. More than likely, you'll get a success. Then from 1 to 2, you use a 10%. From 2 to 3, you use a 10%. And then from 3 to 4 or try to tet, you use a 50%. And then so on, you will always use a 50%. I would suggest always having at least 5 stones and 5 Volks of whichever enhance you're going to go for, because you can fail. And when you fail, you can try and restore it, and that can also fail, and you'll have to continuously keep leveling your enhancements. So this is kind of a bit about awakened enhancements. I would suggest, and have suggested many times to guildies, that if you fail once or twice, don't try again. Wait until later in the evening, wait until the next day, because your RNG is probably bad. And I've seen so many stories of people who wait until they get 1 or 2 or 3 successes in a row, and they get all their gear finished because they just have high RNG and the game's, you know, loving them at that moment. So that would be my suggestion to you. To get anywhere past Tet to Pen is going to cost you a lot of money and resources. To get this one single pen, it cost me about 26 advice of 50 Volks and 40 stones. So it was a lot of resources. It usually takes 40 to 80 stones per pen. I don't know. From what I've been hearing, some people will get lucky and get it within 10 or 5. Who knows? But I'm not risking it too much, because I still gain CP in other ways, non-RNG, like I told you, which is leveling your Black Spirit levels and, you know, buying oranges and continuously to level that, and also level your enhancements. Or your enchants on your gear. So that's pretty much the guide. The only thing is that when you can transfer enchantments, so I don't do this anymore, but if you're a new player and say you get a purple and you have a blue, you put the purple in first and then you can transfer to your blue. You do lose your enchants and your crystals on the gear that you're transferring, but you gain the level. If you're going up in a gear, so let's say from blue to purple, it won't, and you have like a 10 blue and you want to go to purple, it'll probably be an 8 or a 7 because you lose a bit of percentages from enhancing above your tier in gear. So just be mindful of that. So yeah. Also, when you craft gear, just so you know, if you have like a level 1 orange and you craft it into a level 2, but it has enhancement, so it's like a plus 30 level 1 OJ, and you want to craft level 2, it will transfer that enhancement to here. It will not transfer the enchantments and crystals, but it will transfer the enhancement, almost like a transfer enhancement, but your gear, you're crafting it instead of transferring it. So if you have that's why I say wait until Ultimate Granil to get to plus 40, because then once you get 2 more, you can just craft it and it transfers to your Jin Granil armor immediately. So yeah, that's essentially how to progress gear-wise. To get to that point, though, basically the things that I focus on are getting silver. When I was leveling, is getting silver to get to plus 40 first. Then when I got to plus 40, I got all Jin. And you can do that at the same time. So you can separate your purchases in the market for getting to plus 40 and getting to Jin. And essentially it's, buying gear. You look every day, see if there's anything cheap. Like I would wait for under 20 million for single oranges, or under 50 million or 55 million for double oranges. So here's a 54. That's a pretty good price, But if these are selling for 19 and it takes 3 of them, it takes about 60 million to get one double, right? Or like close to 60, 57. So for this, for 54, like that's a good price, because then you can skip buying those 3 and just buy this one and get a double and not have to craft it. And you can look at, your ultimate gloves or ultimate Jin Granil is 361 million. So if you think that it takes, 18 singles to get to Granil, or to get to that, then you do 18 times 19 million, right? Which is like 342 million. So you're spending an extra 20 million here, but you get it immediately. So it all depends on what oranges you have already and how much silver you have, because you could be farming for one, like you could be buying for maybe the helmet or whatever, and you'll slowly gain more silver than your purchase power if you do it tentatively and patiently, to the point where then you can maybe just go to your gloves and be like, okay, they're cheap enough in Jin, I'm just going to outright buy it, or your shoes, because gloves and shoes are usually pretty cheap. Yeah, 348. So I would buy a Jin Granil, and anything under 350 million is worth it. Like here's another 20,000. Did you see that glitch? Another $20,000 shoe. Very weird. So yeah, so that's the gist about how to get your gear up. Then once you've gotten your gear up, silver progression is for your accessories. So you can buy enhancements as well, Blackstones. They're pretty pricey right now. I've seen actually Grand Weapon Blackstones less than 1.2 million each, and I've seen Grand Armors less than 1.6 million each. But because the new character came out right now, everybody's selling all of their ones they've been hoarding for a ton of silver. But you can also buy the good ones, and they're usually in here for under 150,000 or 160,000, and that's a good price. So the good armors are just as good as these. You just need a lot more of them, and it's actually cheaper to buy. Right now, it'd be way cheaper to buy thousands of these than it would be hundreds of these to level to 40. So that's what you spend your silver on until you're at 40. Then once you get to 40, obviously you awaken, and you don't really need to spend silver to enhance anymore, other than on your Valks. So where you get those advice of Valks is, through leveling, through doing quests, through doing dailies and all that kind of stuff. But also in here, in miscellaneous, you have awaken enchantments, and you'll see you can buy 7, 10%, and 50 or 7, 50% a week, and they're 90 million each and 20 million each. So it's a lot of silver, but don't let that fret. I just had like 1.8 billion and I spent it on alts today. It takes me about a week to get over 1 billion silver, so it's not a crazy thing, So, I mean, it would take about a week to get 10 Volks or whatever. So the next thing you want to do is spend it on accessories, which is consumables and other consumables, black pearl chests, which we talked about before. Right now, there's a black pearl event going on to hit the hammers, so not many people are going to be selling them. But I would buy black pearls under 80 million, and you'll slowly get 100 and 100 and 100, and increase your black pearl count until you can start buying your accessories to get them to +3. I'm not going to go beyond +3. The fail rate at accessories going beyond +3 is extremely large, and it costs like 400 restoration scrolls to restore them, and I think it's just a waste of resources for the amount of CP you get. You get like maybe 5 CP per level of these now, 6, 8, I don't know, something along those lines. So it's not worth it. So yeah, that's the main gear progression guide for these areas. As for alchemy stones, it's just all crafting, waiting for, stacking resources and waiting for an event where they up the abysmal. Then it's, using your dye workshop to craft outfits. So you craft your armor outfit and your weapon outfit. So you need resources for both. So make sure you understand that and collecting resources, and you always have your workers out doing stuff. And you tier up the same way. So there's purples, +5/+5 that you can combine. Currently, this is what I have equipped for stats, which is a yellow, but there's +5 and +5 that you can combine to try and get the yellow. And then you can keep combining yellows like I did to get it higher, like I said in the previous video. These are, the max is 25. So I have 21 and 21 on my armor now. I might go for a little bit more for the weapon just to see what I can, because I have a bunch of, I have like 5 weapon outfits right now stored up. So that's the other aspect of leveling gear. With relics, these just come from exchanging relics and doing quests and doing ruins. And then you can exchange them in the shop. So a lot of people don't understand that. So there's 2 ways you can exchange in the Shikatu shop. One way is with the Shikatu exchange certificates, which you'll get everywhere. And then there's a designated exchange, which is amazing. So if you get, let's say, a high-end relic or a red relic, like I got this one here, and it was Surret class damage, which nobody ever uses really unless it's for farming, you can actually, if you have enough exchange tickets for the designated one, you can use this and select exactly which relic you want or which accessory. So that's really important. And the way you get these certificates is you use your exchange certificates. So you got to try using the exchange certificates first, and then these will go increased, and then eventually you'll be able to just be like, okay, well, I get to choose what I want now. And it's mostly for relics. I wouldn't do anything like, you can exchange accessories because you'll be getting probably a bunch of different orange ones. These are the ones that I think give me the best output for capping out these abilities, which is the Mark of the Shadow, and then everything else: Ogre Ring, Tree Spirit, Witch's Earrings, and Giant's Ring. But you might want to exchange for different ones or try and plus your other accessories if you already have a +1 or whatever. So that's what the exchange certificates are used for as well. So that pretty much covers most of your gear. I don't know, that's progression, gear progression. And it's long, tedious, and shitty, but once you get to the end of it, it's, then you do it to your alts. All right, cool.